Okay, so welcome everyone to the Assabet Co-op Market virtual town hall event. Thank you for joining us on a Tuesday night. My name is Lauren Bell. I'm Director of Outreach and Communications for the Assabet Co-op Market. You'll also see on your screen pinned our General Manager, Sam McCormick, and Board Chair, Leah Ciapinelli. Most of you on this call are already owners, but for those who might not be, or friends of folks who are joining us tonight, of course, we are a community of more than 2,000 owners in the Assabet Co-op Market. That's a community-owned grocery store initiative. We are now in our 10th startup year here to get this store open. It is a grocery store in many ways like any other, full service, every department you'd expect. The only big difference is, of course, number one, that we prioritize local farms and food producers, so profits stay largely local and support the local economy. And the other major difference, of course, is that we are owned by you guys, now more than 2,000 member owners and counting. You don't need to be an owner to shop at Co-op, so invite your friends. If you're not an owner, just come shop when we open and feel great because you're supporting local. And of course, our owners, the more than 2,000 folks from more than 40 communities around us, including Maynard, our owners. They each pay a one-time $200 share in the store. There's no annual fee, and they get cool benefits for it. And you can find all those benefits and easily become an owner online by going to assabetmarket.coop, assabetmarket.coop. And of course, folks are pretty excited, and we'll get into some of the really exciting bits because our store is now finally being built. It's under construction. If you're driving by on Powder Mill Road and you look to your right, if you're headed toward Maynard, you will see construction vehicles and the facade of the building down and a coming soon sign, and stuff's really getting going there. So we're going to show you some pictures tonight, and it's really exciting to see. And of course, we now have the Bridge the Gap fundraiser that rolled out about a week and a half ago. And we're going to talk a bit about that tonight and how big the need is and how we all can really rally one final time to meet this final challenge and open our doors and thrive as a community-owned grocery store. So without further ado, I'm now going to turn it over to General Manager Sam McCormick.
Thanks, Lauren. And everyone should appreciate Lauren's ability to speak quickly and with brevity. So it's a lot to get out there in 4 minutes. Thanks for the intro, Lauren. So before I do any significant talking, I want to introduce some members of our board of directors that are on the call with us this evening. It will be in no particular order for you. It will be in the order that's on my screen. And here we go. To my right, I have Leah.
Hello, everyone.
And would you care to share your name, your board role,
Absolutely.
and perhaps how long you've been involved in the co-op?
Absolutely. Okay, thanks. My name
and
is,
your pronouns as well.
yes,
Sorry, we're just adding to the list.
That's a long list, Sam. Hello, everyone. My name is Leah Ciapinelli. My pronouns are she, her. I've been chair of the board for the duration of 2022. I've been on the board since early 2021 and active as a volunteer prior to that, and happy to be here.
And your pronouns is the last.
I did. Oh, she, her. I said them earlier.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Okay. And
That's
now,
okay.
Donna, you're next, and you have the whole list.
Okay. My name is Donna Brown. My pronouns are she and her. I have been, my owner number is like 800 and something. So I've been really interested in and excited about joining the co-op. I joined the board this past spring and excited to work with the board, bringing the market to opening day.
All right, Mark next.
Hi, I'm Mark Lowe, he, him. I've been volunteering with the co-op for a couple of years, and I just recently joined the board. So glad to be on board.
Great. Debbie.
I am Debbie Andell, she, her, member number 190. I've been volunteering for quite a while and loving it and really excited about the store.
David.
Hi, I'm David, he, him. Been on the board for 2.5 years. Played a key role in hiring both Patty and Sam, to my delight. Yeah, that's it.
Thanks, Stephen. Evan?
Hi, I'm Evan, he, him. Been on the board since earlier this year, and I'm the VP of the board.
All right, we have Amanda.
Hi there, Amanda Patel, she, her. I just joined the board this spring and I am excited about it.
Laura.
Hi, everybody. I'm Laura Matei. I live in Maynard. I'm owner number 20. I've been involved since the beginning, and I'm really, really looking forward to having that store. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Really appreciate your participation.
All right, and then I think last but not least, Tom. Oh, you're still muted, Tom. Yeah. Oh, okay. So Tom Lena, his pronouns are he and him. He's been on the board for the last almost 2 years. Oh, and now you're unmuted. There you go.
Yeah, Tom, he, him, board for 2.5 years or so, and super excited to see the progress, the construction happening, and excited to be a part of tonight's event. Thank you.
Thanks for joining from the car, Tom. Unless I've missed anyone, Lauren, I think that's everyone on the call from the board, I believe. Okay. All right. So if I missed anyone, you're off camera, just shout out. Last person to introduce, very important person to introduce, is Patty McKenna. I don't know if Patty McKenna is able to turn her camera on. And Patty's been, well, you can introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Patty McKenna, she, her. I have been around since David hired me, and Leah changed my life to join this group. And I'm so happy to take you to the finish line. And I promise this time, I really will take you to the finish line. We will get this done. And so excited to be with you guys tonight.
Patty is she's the glue that holds our fundraising and dollar raising together. She really is. So we're so happy to have her on the team to continue this work with us. All right, so I'm gonna talk for a little bit, not for too long. I'd like to open it up for questions and answers as soon as possible. Folks may know sometimes in the evenings my internet likes to create static, and so if I start freezing, feel free to message me in the chat, and Lauren will take over talking about whatever we're talking about at that moment. And hopefully that doesn't happen this evening, but it's happened before. So just setting expectations. And so to kick things off, like Lauren mentioned, I like to start with things that we're celebrating. And we have 2,034 owners, which I think is awesome and is definitely worth celebrating. And we've had a number of new owners join since this news has come out. And I so appreciate that level of support, that core support on an equity level. Having new owners come in, knowing that we're doing this work, knowing that we're going to fulfill the project of opening the doors and having this community-owned grocery store. So really appreciate all of those new owners coming in and everybody who's sharing and spreading the word about the co-op. Other positives, construction's continuing, rolling onwards. So we've been under construction since June, and I can't give any dates because no one in the world can give dates these days, but we're looking forward to our neighbors at Jam Time having their doors open soon. Their work, I believe, is close to being wrapped up. And so we're very excited to have their doors back open. And I think a lot of folks have seen the progress kind of on the exterior. And that's where a lot of the work, the emphasis was happening, so that we could get that out of the way so that we're not getting in the way of other businesses in the plaza. That was really important that we moved through that as efficiently as we could. I'm going to share some photos because nothing like picture proof to show how the project is going. So let me see here, my computer cooperates. I will share my screen. All right. So we're going to start from the beginning. And again, some folks have seen this slideshow before. So if you've seen it before, there will be a few new photos since you've seen it. So we're starting back in the spring of last year, so in 2021, when this was just a thought, and this was when we were in conversation with the Kaufmans, and I believe we have one of the Kaufmans at least on the call tonight. Jonathan Kaufman's joined us this evening. And they're part of the group that owns the plaza and that we are in contract with for leasing the property here. So this is the start of the whole trip. This is the fun tree that we're building a deck around. We did get arborist approval that we can keep the tree. We did have to remove some dead ash trees that were around it to help it thrive. But the deck is currently being built around this tree as we speak. The footings are going in. This is the winter view out the back. This is my temporary office for a bit. And it was a nice big empty space to work out of for a very brief period of time before we started to demolish the space. This is our artist and illustrator, Amanda Williams Galvin, preparing her mental preparations for the drawing that she did of the back deck area. And testing out some paint colors on the interior. Because we pick a lot of these things out digitally, but we need to see how they show up on the walls. We were particularly in love with this tomatoey red as that dried on the wall. Here's the space as we took possession of it. So this is part of the space that we're taking over. This was what was a storage area, and this was before anything was done with it. So this is as it was. This was the common area hallway next to it. This is also part of our space. And this was the back office area as the demolition started. So if anyone knows anything about construction process, the demolition part is like, it's very precise, it's very fast. And it's amazing to see how a space changes quickly as that rolls on. So there goes the office. It was very short-lived. And then everything started getting pulled out of the space. And demolition started on both spaces at the same time. So they really maximized the use of labor and efficiency with time. So now this is with all the walls removed back in what was the office area. And this is the future receiving room where the loading dock is going to be, and where coolers are going to be and things like that. So we continue onwards. The main storage space did have asbestos in it. There was asbestos that had been covered over on the floor that had to be removed. And that was a pretty significant piece of work, but it was managed very well. A really great contractor who worked with the state and the local health officials and the local fire chief to make sure that was done properly. And we passed all inspections related to that. And we got all our welcome little sign up. We have a bigger sign that's going to go up, but we do have to get permission from the town to put a larger sign up. So we're working on that. And so this is after all the asbestos was removed from the floor, and they started work on taking down the drop ceilings. Oh, and now I'm in the basement. We had to do trenching work in the basement because there's structural supports that are needed for the portion of the space that's wood framing, which is of course the portion where our receiving room is and where all of the big pallets of food are coming in. So the engineers had to do a very thorough job of making sure that we have the proper foundational support for that area. And now we're seeing the room, everything is starting to get opened up. So this was the common area hallway. This was the storage space. This is now turning into what is the future full space for the co-op, with still a little bit at the back to be removed. And what I love personally is that without any lights, so now all of these lights have been removed, there's so much light in the space, even with the minimal amount of windows that we do have. So it gives me a lot of hope for a bright space when we open. Now are the goats. So the goats helped us to clean up the back area by the river. We had a decent amount of weeds and poison ivy and things like that that needed to be removed. And primarily because of the poison ivy, they brought in goats to do that removal, and they did a very efficient job. And we really appreciate them. And they're going to turn into part of our operations and maintenance plan in future years. So we'll see more goats out in the future back by the deck. All right, so now we're onto the front they formed out the sidewalk here, and they're bringing all the sidewalks up to code so that we have proper ADA access to the front of the space here. And we're back to the back again. There's no particular order apparently in which these are happening. So this is the view from the back. So this is one of the views that we'll have from the deck, from the future deck, which I think is pretty awesome. And as the project has progressed, we've been seeing a decent amount of wildlife. There's a swan that likes to show up. There's some great blue herrings. There are geese. So we're looking forward to some future fun, find the bird cards for kids and stuff like that to do out on the deck. Now we've got this lovely bobcat, which has turned into the kind of the mascot for our fundraising campaign this fall. The little bobcat that could, a very small but efficient machine. And now we have the sidewalks poured, and I think we're rapidly, sidewalks poured all over the area. And this plaza area right here, this little patio, we're going to have some benches out there. We're going to have some plants out here on the side. It's going to be a beautiful little spot where you could park your bike, and if you come out and you want to sit there and have a drink or a snack before you head home, we're going to have that space right there. And let's see, we're testing paint colors on the front. So this isn't a super surprise, but as long as all goes well, there should be a fresh color on the facade of the plaza sometime before we open. All right, so now we're on the final step of the front. They're putting in the asphalt and doing a great job with it, rolling everything out right there. And here's the finished area. So you might wonder why it's just here. It's because for cost reasons, we were trying to be efficient in how much of the parking lot needed a full asphalt removal and replacement. And before we open the store, the rest of the parking lot will get a top coat and restriping, so it'll all be fresh and bright looking. And there we are. We have a properly draining parking lot, which I can't tell you how excited some of us are. It seems very inconsequential, but we now will not have rain puddling right by the entrance, which is pretty exciting for when we think about running to the co-op in the rain and not wanting to step in a puddle right when you get out of your car. And as of just on Monday, we have excavators in the back. They are digging out the foundation spots for the deck. So we are moving full steam ahead. And another view of the river. We have our lumber for the deck here. And Lauren, for size comparison with the actual footings for the deck. And I think that takes us to the end. Yes, this is where we were as of the end of the day Monday. And very excited as things continue forward. Really appreciate all the hard work that our general contractor, RW Hyde, is doing. All of the subcontractors have been doing amazing work. Fonzie is the group that's been doing all of the site work out there. They've been doing an amazing job. So many thanks to those folks. All right, so photo fun is over, but I have one more graphic to share with folks. So some of the feedback we've been getting as we've brought up this campaign and why are we doing more fundraising this fall and why is the goal what it is. Some folks have been asking for a graphic, a sheet of info. So I have a sheet of info, but I will preface it with the fact that there are not many numbers on it. And that is on purpose. So we do have signed contracts that are significant with the general contractor and with the landlord and other folks. And for that purpose, I can't share in a public forum, on a recorded public forum, information that would be too specific about a construction contract. But I can certainly talk about the components that go into where we are in the project, why fundraising is necessary. And so I'm going to open that up right now. We found out in late July that our major equipment is significantly delayed. So we originally, just to take us back in time a little bit, we did have a different line of refrigeration we were looking at in 2021, but when Omicron hit, it delayed things even more significantly than was occurring before. And we switched lines of refrigeration to one that was estimated to be delivered much sooner. And originally we thought our problem was going to be, we get it so soon, we're going to have to pay storage costs. That's what we thought our real more significant issue was going to be. But in fact, the delays have continued. So it moved from August to October, from October to December. And now our date of delivery has been given for the spring. So the positive in all of that is that that date is holding. So we check in with them. I check in with Unify and our equipment supplier very frequently, and they give me updates as far as timelines holding, etc. And as of last week, that date is holding. So to me, that's a positive. It was a significant change when it happened, and we did take a number of weeks to stop and strategize before we messaged this publicly, because we wanted to be prepared to meet the challenge and meet it in a thoughtful and intentional way. But since we've launched, we've gotten a number of questions. So I'm going to try to address some of those questions this evening. I think there have been some folks who are wondering where an 80% difference in cost comes from on our project. And so when we talk about our contract amount going up by 80%, we have to clarify a couple of pieces. So we were not signed under contract at the end of last year. We were working with the GC that we have with a budget that was being refined, but there also is no contract right now that holds. And I guess to put that into layman's terms, that means even if you have signed a full construction contract, there's no ability on the contractor's part to say, sure, that's the price we're sticking with, because the costs have been so significantly changing that we have to experience the cost difference. The GC cannot eat the difference in that cost. It's not possible. One of the other significant pieces to note, some folks may have looked at what some of the averages are for construction, and that can be wildly different on the type of project you have. So if you were building a house, or something made out of bricks, something that's like functional space but not necessarily retail space, your cost could be much lower than what we're experiencing as an average cost per square foot. But for what we're doing, we call it a fancy vanilla box. That's what a grocery store is. It's a space that we clear out, and we're in an old building, so there's a lot of clearing out to do. And then we clear it out and we fill it with plumbing, mechanical, and electrical equipment that is significant. It's significant in both the scope and also with the cost increases, because they contain a lot of metal components. And metal right now has been wildly increased in cost. And so I think when folks, if you're trying to compare and to wrap your head around why is our project more expensive than maybe some of the other things you might have been hearing anecdotally, it's because of the type of project we have. So if we compare ourselves to projects like ours, so if we look at the national average for grocery building, it's 175 to 200 per square foot on average, and we're at 185 on average. So we're actually solidly within the national average for the type of construction we have. And then just to compare, and I can't name a local project, but there has to be some trust in the fact that I have been talking with other folks regionally, and in the Northeast region, there's even higher costs than the national average often. So we're actually below what some of the local construction costs have been for our type of construction. And the kind of icing on the cake for us is the beauty of using an old building is it's the greenest thing we can do. You ask any architect or engineer, the greenest thing you can do is to reuse an old building. However, with old buildings come problems. And some of the problems we've encountered is asbestos throughout the space, thankfully not in the walls or the ceilings, but in the flooring. And so we've had a significant amount of asbestos removal that's been occurring. We also have had to do, like I had noted in that picture where I was standing in the basement, the subfloor above that, so all the plywood and everything, along with asbestos removal, we had to remove all the subfloor because there was some rot present in that subfloor. So some of these things you do not know until you open up an old building. That is the blessing and a curse of a old building project is that we're doing a green positive thing, but it does come with some unexpected costs and delays. And that's where we're seeing some of our project overrun costs. And we have noted in our fundraising efforts that part of what we're raising funds for is cost overruns. I will note to everybody right now, I cannot give out that figure. That is something that only the board and I can talk about, and it's not something that we give out publicly. It is considered very unwise to share that figure publicly because it's something that we want to keep to ourselves. And our GC was on the call, he may still be on the call, but he could, I think, speak to the fact that that is common practice, that as the owners of the project, we don't share that information even to the GC or the architects. And then a factor that I don't know if this could be said enough, the labor shortages and wage increases, the wage increase is positive, but the labor shortages along with the increases have drawn out and exacerbated the supply chain issues we've been having. The material increase costs are then inflated further by those issues. And I had a great conversation with someone who used to be a project manager with the co-op on our last project, Kim Musto. And we were talking about the specific material, because sometimes this can all feel like a big cloud and not specific. So if we consider the cost of steel over the last 2 years, the cost of steel has gone up 224%. It's gone from $500 to $1,620 a ton. That is the raw material cost. And then that material has to be shipped to the manufacturing plant. The material has to be shaped and formed into whatever the finished product is. And then that product has to be shipped and delivered to the end user. And when we think about that supply chain process, the impacts of material cost increases, labor shortages on all of those phases have been the compounding factors that we're experiencing. And so we think about, why do we name the Omicron wave as a factor? Because it significantly created shortages in staffing that further delayed materials to be delivered to produce things like our refrigeration equipment, right? And so it's a process it's like a domino effect that goes across. And it's something that I think is it's the most frustrating for me, because there's no control over that. It's not something that we can community-wise impact, personally impact. And so that's just something that we are living with and monitoring. And that's why the monitoring of our timeline is really important, and checking in to see if there are any further equipment shifts in timeline. And I think just a piece from our project manager, it's a weird thing to consider, but they don't hold costs for more than 7 days. So again, thinking about the impacts on a project and why maybe why can't we hold with a cost plus contract? Why can't we stick with what our threshold was? It's because the work would stop. If we said, no, we're not going to pay more for an item, then the item won't be delivered, the work won't be done, and the project would stall. So a lot of this has been with a significant amount of work with us and the general contractor and the subcontractors as prices change. I really appreciate the work that the GC has been doing, taking a lot of time and a lot of effort to talk with multiple subcontractors to make sure that we're getting the best price for the best product. And that when a cost increase comes through, it's not because one person is increasing it, it's that we're seeing and making sure that that's something that's industry wide. So I can speak to the due diligence that the GC is doing, also because with the way our contract is, we see both increases and decreases in cost. So if somebody were to have a material decrease, we would experience that. And when we are billed, we see every single bill from all the subcontractors. So there's complete transparency in this process. And the thing that I can say is that there's no part of this that is not genuine. Unfortunately, there's no wiggle room in what we have, but we are doing the absolute best that we can to move this forward in the way that we need to get our doors open. And some of the things that, as a result of all of these changes, just looking at where the cash needs come in. So we've talked about the construction overrun allocation, number that I can't really speak to too much, but that is a portion of what we're raising funds for. We have pre-open marketing, signage, advertising, all of those things that we are putting in, moving forward those costs into funds that need to be raised. And that's work that will be done in 2023. We will have potential holding costs for the space pre-opening. And that's with negotiation with the landlord and figuring out what months of rent and utilities we're going to need to pay once the space is finished. We have pre-open staff hires. We have managers that we need to hire to help prep our menu and to set our full grocery list and to do our big, large orders. I don't do all that stuff myself. There are people that I need to work with to do that. So we have a number of folks that we need to hire a couple of months before we open. We also need to put significant dollars into our staff training for the 2 weeks and month prior to opening. And we need to fill our shelves with groceries. That is a very important thing as a grocery store, to make sure we have food on the shelf to sell. And we have, there's some very, very good stuff worked into vendors that work with us through NCG, that there's an amount of free fill that we will get from certain vendors, but that certainly doesn't fill all of the shelves. So there's cost there. And then the other piece on the other end of, we go from construction overrun to cash runway. And that's the last piece. The cash runway allows us to really sustain after our doors are open. We often see within the grocery industry kind of a peak post opening, and then it can downturn for a little while and then it comes back up. And so we want to have a good runway to keep operations moving smoothly during a downturn. It's something that we expect and plan for. Moving right along. So we are clearly, while we prepare to open, as we finish construction, which the goal is to have that finished this year, the predominant portion of construction, we are, I say this so many times, but we're continuing to refine the plan. With time, we can always do it better. And that is absolutely true here. We can do a better job in our staff planning and our operations and maintenance within our prep for having staff and how we receive them and have the space ready. The other thing that we're working on, and Lauren can speak more to this in a minute, we want to do some events this fall, this winter, and in the spring. Some of the stuff this fall is going to be focused around fundraising. So we're happy to do info sessions. If folks want to host house parties, we are back to being able to do those again. I think that's really exciting. If there are folks who are interested in hearing more about the co-op, more about the fundraising work we're doing, and finding values alignment, we're looking out for folks who'd be interested in doing that. We have some brewery fundraisers that are in the works, and you'll see some more information coming on that. Depending on our occupancy status in the spring, if we are able to receive temporary occupancy prior to having the rest of our refrigeration in the space, we'd like to have events in the space. It would be amazing because we'll have this big space and we won't have food in it for a couple of months. So we'd like to utilize that as best as possible. Do some tours of the store. We'd like to host some local classes and maybe have some fun events out in the parking lot. Food truck is just one idea and there are more to come. So just thinking about how we can best use the space and time that we have in the coming months. And the big work that we're doing during this time is fundraising. And that is where it lands us. So I'm gonna leave this here for a second. This is just to show some of the buckets around how we're strategizing for fundraising this fall and the areas that we're looking to have funds come in. Community donor work. You'll find that we have some amazing callers from among our board who are reaching out to folks in the community. And so if you get a phone call from somebody at the co-op, it may not be a good time for you to give, but at least give those folks a warm welcome. And they are doing an amazing task for us this fall. Major donor work, and this could be any amount that, the community donor work is based more about how it's driven, and that has to do with calling folks. It's not as much qualified in dollar amount. Major donor work is happening through outreach and conversation Lauren and myself are leading that portion of the work. So if there are folks who, for instance, if you're on the call and this is not enough information for you and you would like more specifics, we are happy to have one-on-one calls with folks who are interested potentially in giving, but who would like, if you would like more financial information, we are leading that charge. There's also grant work happening, and one of our board members is chairing the grants committee, Amanda Patel. And that piece is also in process right now. And the last bucket and the area that the board has agreed is our least desired outcome, but needs to be explored, is to increase our debt. So that's something that we're doing out of due diligence to make sure that no matter what, we have the cash to open, but it is the least beneficial for our long-term health as an organization. Taking on more debt means that we'll have a longer period of time where we don't have positive cash flow. And that's something that we want to avoid. And that's why the emphasis right now is on fundraising. So I am going to stop sharing my screen at the moment. And I'm going to stop talking because I'd love to just open up the floor for more conversation with folks. I just will say before we open it up, and I said this last time, there are folks like yourself who are very passionate about this. And there are many owners and community members who aren't owners who've been very supportive of the project. And that is the passionate core of folks. That is not the volume of people that we need to keep a store open with sales. So we've had a couple of great suggestions as far as how we could maybe open early with a partial store. So my reminder to folks is that our best version of success, and based on the liability that we also hold and in the commercial space in Massachusetts, is we have to open fully one time and do it right and do it well. And that we are so appreciative of the passionate support. But when we count numbers, the passionate support is not the volume that our industry leaders say we need to make the sales goals that we need to be a successful community-owned business. So it's I still welcome the ideas and the suggestions, though, because there's some amazing things that are coming out of that. I just want to note that before we open up, and I think now we are good to move into question and answer.
Yeah, and Sam, Bob asked a couple of questions there in the chat. I don't know if you want to address those.
Oh, absolutely. So we do have agreements in place with the owners of the plaza, and they are taking on a significant portion of the shared use cost work. So things like the site improvements and things like that, absolutely, they are contributing to those costs. We are not holding all of that work ourselves. Yeah, and hazard materials are cost. Yes, so everything to do with abatement so far, we've been sharing costs, and we have a whole matrix in which we track all of that. And I really appreciate the continued partnership that we have with the Kaufmans on that. They've been very willing to negotiate with us as things have come up. Yeah, it's a great question. And also, David, thank you for noting that GC is general contractor. There are a lot of terms that get thrown around these days. Yeah.
And folks, one of the things that we actually haven't put out there in numbers this call, but presumably you all know if you're on the call, is what our goal is for this campaign, where we stand so far. So as I mentioned about a week and a half ago, our Bridge the Gap campaign, I think appropriately named, thank you, Sam, formally launched. And so a lot of you have been getting the emails, you've been seeing it on social media. We have raised, I think, just short of $50,000 so far toward our $1.75 million goal. And these are tax deductible donations, thanks to our partnership with Cooperative Development Institute. This is a nonprofit cooperative organization that helps co-ops of all sorts across the country to raise funds. So they serve as our designated fiscal sponsor for this. And you can, and I'll type it into the chat, you can go directly to our website. You can make a donation online. And we, of course, also accept donations through folks' donor advised funds, quality charitable donations from your retirement funds. There are a number of options, but I'll put that in the chat here. And as Sam mentioned, we have a call team, and some of these members of our call team are fundraising campaign team. First of all, everybody is volunteers. So please, if you get a phone call from us, I've been in this for more than 6 years now, and many of you are very early owners, and this is entirely community driven, out of the goodness of people's hearts, and that we are still moving forward and have come so far is a testament to all of these folks' contributions to this effort. So if you get a call, whether it works for you or not, please do give them a minute and give them a thanks for them putting in their time for this. But you'll be hearing from folks, and like Sam said, this is to raise this amount of money is doable, but it takes a big effort, as it has in the past. This community has rallied in the past, and we can again. But this is a multi-pronged approach through both fundraising, direct outreach to folks, as well as networks of folks. So, we are looking at, of course, new owners who didn't have the opportunity to participate in the capital campaign. We have more than 300 owners who have joined since last fall, which is amazing and awesome. We are looking, of course, to existing owners and capital campaign investors who really, are our most passionate core of folks who really want to fulfill that P6, Principle 6, economic participation in our community's well-being. Those are folks, of course, who we're reaching out to as well. Non-owners are also able to, Massachusetts residents, non-owners are able to donate to this campaign as well, which is different from our capital campaign investment campaign. So that's a big piece of it. So if you're an owner and it was bad timing before and it's still bad timing, or it's just not right for you, but folks who share your values, who share our values as a cooperative when it comes to local farms and increasing healthy food access for all, reducing our food's carbon footprint. If you are in networks, you've got community groups, you have your own nonprofits that you're involved in, if folks at work, colleagues, if there are folks who might share our values and might like to donate and see this thing through to the end, please feel free to email us at donate@assabetmarket.coop. And Sam is happy to have those one-on-one conversations with folks and work with them in whatever way is comfortable for you. But that's a big piece of it. And then, of course, we're seeking grants, large and small, as we move forward with this work. We are going to get this done, but it's going to take all of us. We really have to rally one final time to open the doors and thrive.
Thank you for that, Lauren. I definitely ran out of steam and then you picked it up. Thank you. All right, I would welcome folks to raise your hand, unmute yourself, ask questions, comments, anything like that. And we've got a comment in the chat that says we need to raise around 900 per member. That is one approach. So there are many things. I think the graphic at the very end where we showed the different buckets. So one of the things that's absolutely true, and Patty McKenna has experience with this, there are many ways to raise this volume of funds, right? And we are doing our best to do all of those ways so that we have no stone unturned, nothing that we have not tried. And so there are ways to think about it per member. There's some folks that talk about if everyone donated a square foot of the space, that's another way to think about it. How many people would we need to donate? Around $185. So there's a lot of different ways to consider it. Mary, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, so thank you. This is like such an amazing project. I am so lucky. I'm so happy to be a part of it, like working at it from the bottom up. Like I love seeing your montage of pictures, which really, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that just gives me a really good feeling about like where this is going to go. So having said that, my question is, as far as like that big word called volunteer, I am looking for a volunteer opportunity. You know,
Okay.
I don't know what that looks like. I don't know in what capacity, but it is, and it has been a goal of mine for probably the last 2 months. I am retired, which is even weird to say that still, but so I think that was one of the things that was really calling to me when I decided to be an owner, is like, what a great, something that I really believe in is this idea of co-op to begin with, and to be able to be, you know, a functioning participant in the growth and development of what it's going to look like, you know, in the final stages and moving forward into when it really thrives. So I see you you just put something in the chat about volunteering.
So yes, Lauren and I have a list of all the opportunities that we have right now, and they really range. They go from things like helping to paint the basement offices when those are finished. It goes to planting things outside by the river in the spring. It goes to volunteering at tabling events, because Lauren is one person and he cannot do all of the tabling events that we have. There are opportunities to support the board and some of the committee work that we have going on. There's opportunities within the fundraising work as well, if folks have that skill set and that energy and that time. So we really have things. If there are folks who want to volunteer, we certainly have work that could use that cooperative support. Yeah.
All right. No, that's awesome. You know, like in the grand scheme of things, I am so down for, you know, like so many of those things. So this is very exciting. So I will take a look at those.
All right.
Yeah,
well, I really appreciate that.
Reach out. I'd love to hear from you, and we've got tabling opportunities, and that's the fun stuff. Is like getting out there, and if you're you, and I know you are, or you're me, and you like getting out there and schmoozing with folks and talking about what you're passionate about, those are really fun opportunities to get out there. So yeah, definitely reach out to me, and we can chat.
All right. Can you throw your email in there?
I did up in the little comment I made, but volunteer opportunities, please email.
Oh yes. Okay, I see it now. Yep. Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
I see your hand, Laura, and I just want to comment on something first. So, and maybe you're going to speak about this, Laura. Patty McKenna is a highly qualified fundraiser. Thanks for asking about that, Ellen. So some folks were more familiar with her from when we were doing the capital campaign work. So she guided the team and worked with the board and volunteers throughout the 2 fall seasons of investment work that happened in 2020 and 2021. And she has been partnering with us and working on the fundraising work over the past year in as it's developed. And we really couldn't do this without her support. Laura, do you have more that you'd like to add?
Yeah, thanks. I was so happy to hear you, Mary, in your enthusiasm, and I'm sure that many of us here on this call share that enthusiasm for the co-op. And I just wanted to share my own enthusiasm. You know, we're at a challenging point in time, but we also, you know, we're building the store and it's going to happen. But we do need your help because of the challenges that we're encountering right now. We had several hundred members last fall make loans to the co-op, which really helped us to have a good foundation in addition to member equity. And now we have over, as you heard, 2,030 owners. So we need another good few hundred people to really step up to the plate. And we can do that. And we'd appreciate your help in spreading the word. And now these are tax deductible donations. So we all have a chance, an opportunity to really contribute to this community effort. And for me personally, it's really taking back control There's a lot that's going on in the world, and yeah, I won't be able to control this price of steel. But, you know, just the fact that we can really decide where our money goes and know that so much of it, when we do this project, goes locally to local farmers, to local artisans, to our employees in the store. And as you know, it's a ripple effect. So that's really how we can take back control, which I think is just a wonderful opportunity. So thanks for your support.
Thanks, Laura. Are there any more thoughts or questions out there? We still have a little bit of time. Anyone wants to, David?
Yeah, I just want, I feel like this is a role that I play all the time, but I just want to throw a little more praise in specifically in Sam and Lauren's direction, because they have just both done a phenomenal job of managing a very challenging situation. They take each task on with grace and continue to prove how incredibly capable they are. So I think that we are extremely lucky to have them in our employ, and I have such deep trust in them to carry us through. So please share that with everyone you know as well, because we are in very good hands.
Thank you for that, David. And I appreciate the support of the board that we have. We have an amazing board at the moment. We have 11 people, the largest board that this co-op has ever had. And it's not, there couldn't be a better time to have that level of support from a director's standpoint. And that work, that the heavy lift, it is shared. And I can't say how much I appreciate that as we go through this time. And just to the sharing of things with people. We say this all the time, but we will always have more people who could hear about the co-op, about how we can do business differently, about how we can care for community differently. There are not enough people that know about Assabet Co-op Market, promise you, because like I live outside of Maynard, and so I'm always encountering people who have no idea who we are. And I take that as a great opportunity, right? That means that there's so many more people who could become owners, who could participate in this community effort, who could take ownership in this community grocery store, and who could participate in something that hasn't been present for quite some time. We haven't had a co-op in the region for a number of years. So please share, if nothing else, the awesomeness that is having a community-owned grocery store coming into the neighborhood, and know that while we have a lot of urgency on the fundraising front, we are not doing this with panic. We're doing this with intention, right? We're doing this because it's the best option for our future success. And there are other options out there for how we could have the cash for opening, but this, the board has agreed, is the best way that we can be successful on opening day. Leah?
I just wanted to add, in terms of spreading the word about the co-op, I live near Maynard, I live in Sudbury, and each time I speak with someone about this project and this initiative, I'm really surprised that they hadn't heard about it before. And the receptivity to it, I will say, in the last 3 months has been stronger. And I think it's because they're hearing about something that's happening in their community that is a bright spot. It's people coming together and saying, we're going to do this thing, and we're going to align with this vision and these values, and we're going to make a difference in a world that feels like it's hard to make a difference. At least I'll speak for myself. And Laura, you were saying sort of taking control. This is something that we have control over to do and to accomplish and to have impact. And so please do not underestimate the power of continuing to talk about this initiative and remind friends or neighbors, drive up Powder Mill Road, go take a look, see what's happening. Because it's a unique time in the growth and development of the co-op. And I think that people are kind of, their ears are perking up. And if this small group of, there's 35 of us, it looks like, can just continue to talk about it, it really is going to have an impact. So I just wanted to sort of add to what you were saying, Sam.
Yeah, and we've seen that reflected in some of the new owners that have been coming in. We have a "How did you hear about us?" And for a very long time, a lot of folks, website, friends and family, tabling event. And we're now starting to get, I drove past, right? Like I saw the building. I saw the sign. I saw you guys in the news. And it's awesome because it's like another shift forward, because there've been many shifts over the years. And I think one of the board members who's not present tonight, Siobhan Mitchell, she said this before, that this co-op and iterations of the board have weathered many shifts over the years and many challenging moments, and have really found a way to strategize, settle in, pivot, and succeed. And this is just one of those times, and we are going to succeed. And I think in all of the things, whenever I see a new owner form come in, just like, oh yes, somebody did that right in the middle of what I feel like is all of this chaos. And there are people who are excited to be a part of this. So to me, those are the bright spots. Absolutely. Lauren, do you want to anything before we wrap up?
Let's get her done.
Yeah.
We're ready. We can do this. It's on right now. And email us at donate@assabetmarket.coop to let us know how you can help. And we appreciate it.
Thank you all.
This is all of us. It's appreciated by all, and all of us are in it. It's really a unique thing. It's something special to be a part of right now.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. Some of you folks were on the last call as well. Just the consistent and persistent support. It matters so much. If you have thoughts, questions, anything like that, we have a number of emails that have been dropped in the chat, but if nothing else, you can always just go to our website, contact us through our info@email, any version of that. You'll get Lauren and I. If you email board at, you'll get Leah. So reach out and talk with us. We have the time and we've got the energy, and we're going to do this. So thank you all so much for being here tonight. And I look forward to talking with you all in some capacity in the very near future.
Good night, everybody.
I'm going to stop recording.
Thank
If you want
you.
to say hi.
Good night.
Say hi.